Hey, it's Andy with IT Supplies. The all-new HP Latex R530 flatbed printer is here. This is the most capable compact flatbed printer ever made. And when you need to print roll media, it's just a press of a button and a matter of seconds to go from rigid to rolls. You may be thinking, yes, I want one, but will this thing actually fit in my shop? Today, we're going to take you through the delivery of our R530 and show you all the dimensions so that you can definitively know if this printer will fit in your space. HP is bringing flatbed printing to places that were never before possible. Maybe you have a tight space or are located on an elevated floor. Let's take a look at the space that HP recommends for the R530, and then we'll show you around our R530 printer to show you our experience with the printer in the real world. When you buy a Latex R530, HP is going to handle all of the rigging and delivery with their best-in-class white glove delivery process. Part of that delivery process is confirming that your site is prepared to receive the printer. You don't want to have the printer deliver only to find out that it can't make it through your hallway. So let's walk through the site prep guide and make sure the R530 is an option for your space. The R530 is going to arrive in a single large crate. The crate is 115.4 inches long by 87.6 inches wide by 69.1 inches tall. HP's rigging company will do all the work of landing the crate on your dock or your loading area. They will then uncrate the printer and prepare it to be moved to your print room. Before you can even think about where the R530 is going to sit inside your print room, you need to think about the route to get the printer to its final resting place. HP calls this the unloading route. Once the printer is uncrated, it is ready to be rolled through your facility. The printer is 103.5 inches long by 68.1 inches wide when fully assembled. But if you don't have a door that can accommodate the 68.1 inch width, HP has cleverly made it so that the media output and media input assemblies can be removed to shave the width of the printer down to 63 inches. This is key for those of you that have narrower hallways or double doors. Once you confirm that you can get the printer from the crate and roll it to your print room, it's time to confirm that you'll have enough space in the room to accommodate the new printer. This means not only having the physical footprint, but also having enough room to navigate around the printer while you're using it. Because the HP R530 is an all-in-one printer, it has a lot of different capabilities and can be used for a number of applications. HP has outlined the optimal room layout for 3 of the most common use cases for the R530. Let's go through each of those here. First, if you're going to be using the R530 primarily as a roll-to-roll printer, this is the most space-efficient mode and the one requiring the least space. HP recommends that you have a space of 170 inches wide by 147 inches long. This provides about 3 feet of space behind the printer and 3 feet of space in front of the printer. This would give operators plenty of room to unload and load rolls of media. Now, if you're going to be using the R530 as a flatbed printer, you're going to need more space. We expect most customers are going to use the R530 as a flatbed, otherwise they would have purchased a dedicated roll-to-roll printer for a fraction of the cost. So, what does HP recommend as the optimal space for flatbed printing? Well, they've given 2 scenarios. The first is for customers that will be printing on boards that are less than 60 inches long. If you're using boards that are less than 5 feet long, you will use the included input and output tables. These 2 tables will add 60 inches of total length to the front and back of the printer, making the total length of space needed 185 inches. This will allow you to support and output boards that are up to 5 feet in length. When you start using boards that are longer than 5 feet, you're going to need to support the length of the board with an additional extension table. These extension tables add an additional 75 inches in length to the optimal footprint, making the total length needed 260 inches. These extension tables are purchased separately, so if your workflow is using 4x8 boards or similar, make sure you have that in your plans. So those are the optimal dimensions that HP provides so that customers can plan their space. But these are optimal and not minimum required space. I'm going to give you my own unofficial minimum required space and a few tips after using the printer. If I were laying out my print room, I would put the status beacon side of the R530 up near my wall, so opposite of what we have. I would leave the control panel side of the printer away from the wall, as you're going to be walking between the front and back of the printer to access the panel every time you print. I would say you need a minimum corridor of 24 inches between the front and back of the printer along the control panel side of the printer. So if you were to use these unofficial minimum measurements, you would need a space that is 128 inches wide. This is significantly less than HP's optimal specs of 170 inches in width. But if space is at a premium, this would be my unofficial minimum width that you would need. But what about the length? That is harder. That's harder to pin down because it depends on the way you are going to use the new printer. I actually think HP's measurements for an optimal length in these three scenarios, the roll-to-roll, 5-foot boards, and 8-foot boards, is right on the money. Basically, you need to take the size of the boards that you expect to be printing, multiply it by 2 for the input and output space that you need on each side of the printer, and then you need to add it to the 68-inch depth of the printer itself. That's the formula for your own minimum space requirements. So if you'll use 8-foot boards, the minimum length needed is 96 inches times 2, plus 68 inches for the printer depth, which equals 260 inches. If you won't use 8-foot boards, plug in your own board length, and you'll find your own minimum required length. This is right in line with HP's optimal space, so there really isn't a lot of wiggle room here to save space. So to recap, my absolute minimum width needed is 128 inches, and now you have the formula to calculate your own length needed. With those tools, you can begin designing your space and confirming if the printer will fit. I did want to point out how easily HP's tables fold and store. The space requirements that we've outlined might sound daunting, but remember that when you aren't printing on rigid boards, these tables easily fold up and can be rolled out of the way to give you lots more open space in your print room. I hope this video has been helpful as you consider whether the HP Latex R530 is the best option for you. Pound for pound and square foot for square foot, there isn't a more capable flatbed printer in the market in this compact form factor. If we can help you plan your space for the Latex R530, please don't hesitate to reach out. We'd love to be the partner you choose to work with when you purchase your new printer. Thanks for watching this video, and have a great day.